Before the gods had marble temples, before empires drew borders on maps, there was an island that looked to the horizon and chose the sea. Crete. And at its center, a palace like a living labyrinth, Knossos. Here, red columns rise from sunlit courtyards. Light wells pour daylight into rooms painted with dolphins and dancers. Water runs through clay pipes. Storerooms hold great jars, pithoi, once brimming with oil, wine, and grain. This was not a fortress, it was a hub. A place where order, ritual, and trade braided into power. Meet the Minoans, master sailors of the Bronze Age. Their ships stitched Crete to the Aegean and beyond, Egypt, the Levant, the Cyclades, carrying copper and tin, saffron and ceramics, ideas and stories. They wrote in Lineae, a script we still cannot read, a whisper from a world that refuses to fully yield its secrets. On frescoed walls, bulls thunder forward and athletes arc above them, bull leaping, captured mid-flight. In royal rooms, the throne sits within a chamber of painted griffins. In labyrinthine corridors, artisans fired pottery, inlaid daggers, and set gemstones that caught the Cretan sun. Knossos was a choreography. Bureaucrats tallied harvests with clay ceilings. Priests tended rites in sacred courts. Couriers carried news along polished floors, across terraces, down grand staircases that stepped like waterfalls of stone. Between these rooms and corridors, myth took root. A king named Minos. A maze so cunning it seemed alive. A minotaur at its heart. A thread, a sword, a flight from darkness into day. Perhaps the labyrinth was never a single coil of walls, but an entire complex. Turns within turns, stair on stair, a palace that felt like a riddle. Crete trembles. The earth moves. Far to the north, a volcano at Thera roars, ash drifts, seas surge, trade routes falter. Knossos endures, rebuilds, again and again, until new powers press in from the mainland. Scripts change. Linear B records a different tongue. The story turns a page. What remains is a legacy of firsts. Europe's earliest great civilization leaving color, craft, and ceremony in its wake. Plumbing that sang with flowing water, art that danced with life, architecture that sheltered both administration and awe. Centuries later, Arthur Evans clears the dust, raises the columns, and yes, leaves his own mark, reconstructions that spark debate and imagination alike. But even through concrete and time, the pulse is unmistakable. Walk these courts and you hear it, the slap of sandals, the hush before a rite, the laughter from a balcony washed in sea light. Touch the stones and the island answers. Not with certainty, but with invitation. Knossos does not give you all its answers. It offers you a thread. Follow it through light and shadow, myth and memory, back to the Minoans, who taught a world that the sea is not an edge, it is a beginning. On Crete's northwestern shore, where the sea draws a perfect crescent of blue, a city keeps watch with a lighthouse made of stone and memory. Chania, a harbor that has welcomed sailors, stories, and storms for 3,000 years. Walk the old town, alleys narrow as a whisper, balconies leaning close, sun on ochre walls. Here, the Venetian arsenals, Neoria, still face the water like patient ribs of a sleeping ship. Beside them, the curve of the harbor cradles a skyline of domes and shutters, cafes and small boats nodding with the tide. This is a city layered by time. Beneath these streets lies Minoan Kydonia, shards of a Bronze Age world. Above, Byzantine stones, Venetian arches, Ottoman courtyards, each era leaving a doorframe, a fountain, a way the light falls at noon. The Yalid Zami Mosque traces a pink arc against the sky, a reminder that faith and empire once crossed here, then passed on, like ships at dusk. Chania lives by the water. Fishermen mend nets in the morning. At night, the harbor glows with plates and laughter. Olive oil carries the memory of hills. Honey tastes of time and wind. In the Agora market, vendors speak in generous hands. Herbs, citrus, cheeses wrapped in paper, like small gifts from the island. Look up, and the white mountains, Lefka Ori, answer in the distance. Snow bright in winter, blue in summer haze. From their gorges, Samaria and its kin, cool air slips down like a secret path to the sea. Chania is a meeting, harbor and high country, foam and limestone, the glitter of oars and the hush of pine. You find the city's heart in moments. A child chasing a ball across a square. A painter catching the lighthouse in a single patient line. A shopkeeper pinning fresh jasmine to a doorway. The day turns gold. The stones keep their warmth. Shadows lengthen along the quay like an unfolding map. History here doesn't speak in dates. It speaks in edges, of steps worn smooth, of cannon ports turned into galleries, of houses that learn to hold both silence and song. Chania has been refuge and prize, workshop and watchtower. It has rebuilt itself not with spectacle, but with continuity, with doors that open, with boats that return. Stand at the lighthouse and face the horizon. The breakwater runs like a promise into open water. To your left, the city gathers, cafes lighting one by one, voices rising and folding back into the stone. To your right, the sea keeps its larger grammar, tide, moon, and the slow turning of constellations. Chania does not ask you to hurry. It invites you to dwell, to let the salt dry on your skin, to memorize the color the harbor takes just after sunset, to listen for the echo between old walls and new footsteps. Here, the past is not a museum. It is a companion walking beside you. In this city of light and layers, every path leads back to the water, and every wave that enters the harbor leaves again, carrying traces of markets and prayers, of mountain wind and laughter. Chania reminds us that a harbor is not an ending. It is where journeys learn to begin again.